Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life. Okay, welcome to the Grow Your Business, Grow Your Wealth podcast. I am obviously not your host, Gary Heldt. He is here as well. My name is Bruce Corris. I am Gary's publisher, and I was the editor of his book a few years ago that featured a select group of interviews from his first year of doing the podcast. And that was a long time ago because today is his 200th episode. And we thought, what better time to flip things around and let the host be the guest and let the interviewer be the interviewee. And it's a chance for you guys to learn a little bit more about Gary. He's been conducting all of these interviews and talking to all these fabulous people over these years, but he's never sat down to say, all right, fire away, ask me questions. So I have the opportunity to do that. So Gary, welcome to your podcast.
Hey, Bruce, thanks for being here, and thanks for being on this journey with me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. It has been a lot of fun. And I know the answers to some of these questions, but some of them I don't, and I'll be interested to hear the answers. But let's start with just a little bit about you, to give us give folks the Reader's Digest version of how you got started in accounting and how you got started as a business advisor, because not every accountant goes beyond doing people's taxes. Right. You've really branched out in your career. So how did you get started in the first place, and how did you make that transition?
Sure. God, this goes back many years now. So, what kind of made me start this was, funny. I was watching the movie The Untouchables, and I thought that, that it was so cool to be an FBI agent. I mean, we're talking back when I think I was in 7th grade when I saw this. So at that point, I started looking into, okay, how can I become an FBI agent? And looking at it, it was like, you could do it through, law enforcement. You could do it through having a law degree. You could do it through having a science background. And looking at it, it was like, my family, we grew up, it was my mom, my 2 sisters, and myself. My dad took off when we were, I don't know, I was 7 maybe. So my mom at that point did not even have she had a high school education, didn't have a college degree. So she was a teacher's aide at our elementary school. And so going through that, we didn't have the money to be able to, I never dreamed about having the money to be able to go to law school. I was not a science buff, so I knew I wasn't going to go that route. But watching The Untouchables showed me that, that they have accountants that do forensic accounting and things like that to help catch. And obviously Capone went down because of taxes. So that's what kind of got me thinking, okay, I want to go into accounting. So when I went to high school, one of my football coaches taught a bookkeeping class. And in that bookkeeping class, and this is aging myself, you had the old workbook that you actually tore the papers out and, did your work and then turned it into the teacher. Well, it was some of it was classroom, but some of it was like self-study type thing. So before the first quarter was over, I was basically done. It was, I'm going to say it was kind of like the Matrix. It just came to me. So because of that, he had his own bookkeeping business, got me to start doing stuff for him. And it just really came to me. So then that way I decided, okay, when I went to college, I'm going to major in accounting, go the FBI route. When I graduated college, at that point in time, the FBI had a lot of issues going on in their hiring practices and everything that was being done. So they actually had a hiring freeze on. So I just started going the route of being that accountant and studying for my CPA exam and everything else. I did go take all the tests and everything for the FBI. And what happened during that time was they weren't hiring, they weren't hiring, they weren't hiring. I got my CPA. I'm working now. I'm the chief financial officer for a nonprofit in DC, and just kind of going up the ladder. Well, they finally called me, later on and said, "Hey, we're opening back up to hiring." And I kind of said, "No." I said, "At this point, I'm far enough in my career that I don't want to make that switch because I was enjoying what I was doing." So I worked for an accounting firm. I did some nonprofit work. I did some for-profit work. And I got to a point where I was just like, okay, it's time for me to go out on my own. I see what people are being charged to do the work, accounting work and tax work, not getting advice. I had many people coming to me, asking me to help them. So at that point, I decided, okay, it's time to kind of hang my own shingle. And of course, everybody says, "Oh, hang your shingle, they will come." That is not true. Um, so it's definitely been a journey. And over the years, I've really have kind of changed from being that stereotypical accountant doing tax returns to getting more into the business side of things and the consulting side. 2017-ish timeframe, I really got into doing tax planning, and that's where I went and became a certified tax coach, and really help business owners do their tax planning, and really look at, hey, let me help you write your tax future. And I felt that was something that was very important. Early on, I always said that, we're not just an accountant. And that was kind of my slogan, I guess, for the business. But now it's really, hey, let me help you write your tax future. Let me help you. There's so many tax strategies out there that people aren't putting together. Big thing is people don't understand. You have to pay somebody to do that. That's not your CPA that you're going to prepare your taxes. Should not come up with a tax plan for you. That's not part of your tax preparation fees. Your tax preparation fees are just what they say, tax preparation. You're paying them to prepare a tax return, not to do tax planning. That's something that's kind of over and above, what you have them doing. So that's kind of the full rainbow of where we're at. I really enjoy what I'm doing, really enjoy helping people. And I think that, to me, that comes out when I'm doing my podcast and interviewing people and learning more about what's out there.
A lot of accountants they're like archaeologists. They're digging into the past, whereas what you're doing is really, like you said, future about 6 times there. You're really taking what they've got and helping them plan ahead for the future, which is a different niche. It's a different ball
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you mentioned the podcast.
Mhm.
So way back when, 200 episodes ago, you started doing this thing. What inspired you? I mean, obviously it's a chance for you to talk to a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
So talk about the process that went into, I'm going to do a podcast, and then how the show has evolved over the years.
Sure. I mean, the reason why I really wanted to start doing the podcast is because I feel that educating, my mom was an educator, so I feel that education is key. Many times we don't know things and how better to be better at business or anything else we do besides getting educated. But doing it and being able to talk in layman's terms. Everybody's always talking in acronyms, and lots of times professionals always try to talk high level for people to think that they're really smart. Well, to me, to be really smart, I'm able to talk at the level that of the client or the people or the audience. And I think that that's something that's very important. I think that a lot of people that own small businesses were a great plumber, electrician, attorney, accountant, or whatever it is that you do, and then you suddenly now have a business. Well, nobody ever taught you the blocking and tackling unless you went through a family business that somebody taught you that. So lots of times, and I was one of those that, got into business and went from step 1 to step 10 overnight, basically, and then we're going from there. Well, we never have had time to stop and come back and try to learn, those steps 2 through 9, which are so crucial to our business. And lots of times we're afraid to ask others questions because that's going to make us sound like we don't know what we're doing. So I decided, here, let me start this podcast, bring professionals on, ask them the questions that lots of times business owners are afraid to ask, or ask the questions that, that I'm going to say are myths or things that people talk about that aren't true. So I've tried to bring professionals on and to talk to them about these things to make sure that our listeners, are able to hear this and able to start having questions themselves so they can go back to the professionals that they're using and ask these questions. Or if they're looking for a professional, how do I make sure, if I'm trying to pick a CPA, how do I make sure I'm picking the right one for me, or an insurance agent or financial advisor, whatever it may be, a marketing company. We've talked about AI. There's so many things that we've talked about on the podcast, and a lot of it is just trying to get information to the business owners to help them ask the right questions and be able to keep advancing their business.
You mentioned the blocking and tackling thing there for there a second ago. For people who have never seen you in person, you're a big dude.
Yeah.
You're a very big, I mean, obviously you played college football.
Right.
You're a very big, imposing figure. But by playing football, because you played football, you get the whole team aspect of this. I mean,
Right.
yes, I mean, I'm here in Buffalo and we have Josh Allen.
Right.
And you're in Baltimore and you have Lamar Jackson, but Josh Allen can't win a Super Bowl by himself, and Lamar Jackson can't win a Super Bowl by himself. Even Patrick Mahomes can't win a Super Bowl
Right.
by himself. Lord knows he's tried. But you need those other players around you. You need that team. And in these years of doing the podcast and interviewing all these people, I think that's come forward also
Yes.
is the whole how it takes so many people for a business owner you need them on your team to survive in business and to grow your business.
Right. And I mean, and that's why our book is the name it is, the right team, the right plan. I mean, you need to be able to have the right team of people. And everybody tends to think of, oh, I have my team. It's like, okay, I got my financial advisor, I have my CPA, I have my attorney. It's like, well, that's great, but what about your marketing team? What about your technology team? What about, so there's all these different people that you have, coaches. People don't understand how important having different types of coaches working with you is important. And I'm going to tell you, it shouldn't be your brother-in-law or your father. You shouldn't be somebody like that. You need to have somebody that is going to hold your feet to the fire in a respectful way, but hold your feet to the fire and really push you. You can't have somebody that you're going to be able to just push over and be able to get by. And you don't, and that's why I say you don't want to have it as a friend, because you may lose your friendship because of it if they really are doing their job to hold you accountable. And these are all things that we've talked about over the years in the podcast, and some of it I've learned because of doing the podcast and interviewing the different people.
That actually was my next question. You're good at this. Over these 200 episodes, your listeners have learned a lot from these interviews that you've done. What are the things, what are some of the things you've learned that surprised you when you had these conversations?
Yeah, I mean, one of the interviews that I did was a gentleman with his company, and his company goes in to help people. And go back to the blocking and tackling side. Many times us as business owners, we do things and it's repetition, so forth and so on. And we have it in our head, but we don't have it written down. So lots of times we're teaching people and we keep teaching the same thing over and over, but it's all in our head. There's nothing in writing. So his company would come in and sit down and they help you write out all of your policies and procedures and everything else. So then that way you can actually have somebody take over and manage your company, and they have everything. They make sure that that the operation side of things continue. Another thing that I got from someone was we talked about the culture of your company and the way that you want your clients or customers to be treated, and the things that were important to you, and that have you properly communicated that with your staff. And I think that that's something where I always thought, well, hey, this is the way I act and this is what I do. My staff should just see that and see that I'm leading them that way. And it's like, that's true. But if you don't have that conversation with your staff and to talk about the culture that you want and what you want to see happen, how are they going to know? Yes, you're leading them still by what you're doing, but you need to have that those conversations. So I mean, those are just a couple of the things that I've learned, over time. Because again, when I first started, I mean, again, that the building that team, I was thinking, same thing. Hey, have your CPA, your financial advisor, your business attorney, your state attorney, your insurance agent. Hey, that's my team. That's what I need. And I have found over the years, I need a heck of a lot more than that. So make sure that you find those trusted advisors.
Talk about some of the other, I asked you things you didn't expect to learn. Talk about some of the other memorable moments over the years. I mean, there have been many of them. I'm not going to ask you to list them all, but give me a
Right,
handful of some of the memorable moments or memorable episodes. As we talked about many years ago, when we got you started in the podcast, and you and I did an interview coaching call
right,
many years ago. And you may remember I said, we're looking for gold. We're mining for gold when we do conversations like
right.
this. We're looking for nuggets, and you've already shared several in the time we've been talking. But maybe some of the other memorable moments or the nuggets that came out of these
Yeah.
conversations.
I mean, it's funny. I went back and looked back at the very first episode, and I compare that to now. And it's like, my God, I was just like, I can't believe I was ever that bad. In that I wasn't comfortable. To me, you could see that I wasn't comfortable. And I was asking the questions. And as soon as you got done answering the question, I asked the next question. And it was just kind of, so at the beginning, I didn't, I wasn't doing a good job of listening. And again, I'm not going to remember, the interviewer's name, but as we talked, and they were a business advisor, and as we talked, they talked about being able to really listen what the individual's talking about, so you hear what they're really saying, and not just the words, but what the meaning behind it and everything is. So it really helped me be a much better listener. And then so now I'm able to, they ask the question, I'm actually listening. Yes, I have my other questions that I want to ask, but I'm able to take that question that they just answered and follow up with a question, because it's like I'm truly interacting with them. And I think that that's helped me better in my business, and better listening when I'm talking to new business owners, or even my existing business owners, on what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they need. Because so many times we as business owners, we're here to fix problems, and that's what we do a lot of. So I'm now truly listening to the individual of what is the issue, what is the problem, what is it that they want, as compared to sometimes they just want to vent. So, it's also helping me with that side of things, of understanding sometimes they just want to vent versus they want us to help them fix a problem. And so we're able to communicate more. So that's something that I've really picked up over time. And if anybody goes back and looks at any of probably the first 10 episodes, you'll get a good laugh, as compared to how things are now.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes time to choosing an episode, with getting ready to find another guest and do another episode, what's your criteria? How do you choose a guest? How do you choose the topic? How do you make sure that you're doing a show that's going to provide the value you want for your listeners?
So, I mean, sometimes it depends on what's going on, now inside of my business. What is it that I need, or something? AI is a big thing right now. And I had Maureen Jones on, to talk about AI and some marketing and things like that. And it really opened my eyes, and it was something that, okay, how am I going to implement this in my business? And it was funny because I spoke to Maureen, and as soon as I got done interviewing Maureen, I reached out. I'm the president of the local chamber of commerce here. I reached out to our business development committee person and said, "Oh my God, you got to get this person on. I'm going to talk to her. Maybe she'll do a hybrid, or not a hybrid, a virtual event for us. She's spectacular, blah, 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 blah." She's right down the street from me, Bruce. And so our chambers actually had her before. So we've gotten her where she's come to our chamber now, and has done, 2 or 3 different events for us on AI. So lots of times when I'm looking at who the type of person I want to interview, it's okay, what's relevant to me now currently in my business? What are some things that a client maybe has asked me about? From doing succession planning, and things like that, which I don't do, because that's a totally different technique, totally different mindset and everything else than what I'm doing. So that I kind of went and started looking for someone to do that. I have Adrienne, who is phenomenal at what she does, and she's really helped me be able to screen a lot of the people that we're going through. And she does a lot of the legwork with reaching out to them and finding out, how responsive they're going to be, or what needs to be done, for them, because sometimes, as people are very difficult to kind of to bring on, and letting them know it's like, hey, look, we're educating people. This isn't a sales meeting. This isn't a sales call. We're not pumping products or anything else. Yes, we do always let, our the people that we're interviewing, at the end, they can always tell people, hey, if people like what they're hearing, how can they reach out to you? So we always have that as part of it, because we want it to be beneficial both ways. But I think it's going back to what's prevalent and what's going on and I'm going to say in the world today, and so forth. And that's kind of how I kind of try to find the topics. And then, again, listening to my clients and others on, what some of the hot topics are, and we try to bring people on accordingly.
So it's you have a sense of what's going on. You're always paying attention to what's going on in the world and in your industry.
Right.
And then you're also talking to your own clients on a regular basis, obviously. And, when you see, I imagine that over the course of a month or two, when you're dealing with your clients, you're going to see certain things come up again and again. Gary, I have an issue with this. Gary, this is something new. Gary, this has come up a couple of times and I'm struggling with it. Or flip side, Gary, this has come up and I'm having a ball doing it, or this is phenomenal. And I imagine that those conversations with your own clients are a play a big role in leading to the conversations on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, because one of the guests was Seth Green that I brought on to talk about college planning. If you look at the college planning side of things, man, that landscape has totally changed. And if somebody has a senior in high school right now, I am sorry. I mean, the whole thing is terrible this year. And when you can put in your application to when people are getting their acceptances, I still have clients that their kids still haven't gotten acceptance or denial letters yet for the college, and we're in June. I mean, this is crazy, that they don't know yet. But again, that was something that my clients were talking about. So I brought somebody on who was an expert in that area to be able to help.
Have you had interviews where you went in with one expectation and the interview was like 90 degrees different?
Yes. I had some that I've gone into that I was thinking weren't going to be as exciting as they were. And really the person that I spoke to was fantastic. And they had their energy and everything else. And we were just able to have a great talk, and be able to really make it something that wasn't going to be super exciting, but very important. And we were able to make that happen.
You go into every interview, like any good interviewer, you have a list of questions
Right.
to ask, and you're never going to get them all done because some
Not
people,
even close.
some people, like the guy I'm interviewing right now, are a little wordy.
Exactly.
But have there been interviews where you've gone in and like 2 or 3 questions in, you throw out the whole list and you're just talking about all different stuff?
It happens more times than you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, you would know, but yes, it happens. It happens quite a bit. I mean, I kind of have the set questions and I shouldn't say set question because there's truly never any set questions, but I kind of have a list of questions. There are some things that, depending on who the person I'm interviewing is, I have set, hey, I want to find out about this, and this. And sometimes it truly, it's gotten in where they start telling a story, and that story is so fascinating. And then I got like 12 questions based off of their story that they're telling that I want to find out about. So yeah, and I mean, it happens all the time.
As we sit here today on your 200th episode, let's look ahead to the next 200. Let's look, no, but seriously, as we
Yeah.
look ahead now, where do you think the podcast, you've talked about how it's evolved from day one to today. You've evolved as an interviewer.
Right.
The show has evolved, and it's going to continue to do so. Talk to me about your goals for the show moving forward.
Again, I want to keep educating. I want to keep putting things out there that make business owners think, and give them information for them to be able to ask the relevant questions concerning themselves to their professionals, to their team that they put together, and to find out. I mean, sometimes people outgrow their team. I mean, I've had clients over the years that have just grown in such a mode that I can't provide the the blocking and tackling service that we did when they first started their business. So because of that, they've either brought in a CFO or they've done something. We're still helping advise them, but pieces of it, they've outgrown. I mean, sometimes, when your business grows and now you're doing something where it's like international wise. Well, we don't handle international tax. I don't know anything about it. We need to bring in another firm that maybe specializes in that. Or as an attorney, you may decide that, okay, hey, I want to now start franchising my business. I need to bring in a franchise attorney to be able to help me with that. So it's, just like everybody's business, the podcast, I'm going to keep evolving the podcast to be able to help with that. I think that as we continue, to grow with what's going on here in the U.S. and the economy, the political system, soon to be the election that we're going to have, there's going to be some major changes that are going to happen because of all of this. And I want to be there to help give some of that information, to the business owners to be able to help them decide what they need to do, with their businesses.
If you had one piece of advice for a business owner today, what would it be?
Really to sit back and look at your team. I don't mean your internal team. I mean your external team. And are those people that you have going to be able to get you to the next level that you want to be at? I think that that's really something that as a business owner, we all need to stop and take a look at that every once in a while. And is this team really helping me move forward? The other piece would be make sure that you allow your external team of professionals that you have talk with each other. The worst thing you can do is keep everybody in a silo, because I may be thinking, in one direction about something, but you've talked to your financial advisor and have already told them that, hey, I want to retire in 5 years. I want to make sure I'm there. Well, I would certainly need to know that to be able to help you start preparing your business to get to the point where, okay, in 5 years, I want to sell it or slowly get there. We need to bring in somebody else to be able to help with that. So again, that's why that communication with your external team is so important.
Last question. What's the best thing someone could say to you after they tell you they listened to your podcast? What would you love for them to tell you? Say, Gary, I listened to your podcast, and how do you want them to finish that sentence?
I took the information that you talked about, and it has changed the way that I do business.
Perfect. And on that note, we're going to wrap things up. So thank you for listening to Grow Your Business, Grow Your Wealth with your guest, Gary Heldt, who will be back hosting the 201st episode. I am your guest host this week, Bruce Corris. And Gary, it has been a pleasure flipping things around and being your interviewer today. And I think the people that are listening got a lot of insights from you that they didn't expect to get. So thank you for being a guest on your podcast.
Bruce, I really appreciate, you being with me along this journey. I thank all of the guests that we've had on over the years, and really thank the listeners for being here with me each week. Thank you.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.